Hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to the EKN Radio Network and our podcast, the EKN Debrief. It is July 2nd, 2024, on a Tuesday, just prior to our 4th of July celebration coming up in a couple days, and just after we were attending the 2024 United States Pro Kart Series Wisconsin Grand Prix. I'm David Cole. I will be joined by Nate Dean as we are giving you a recap of that event at the Millwright Raceway in Dousman, Wisconsin, the third round of the United States Pro Kart Series Championship program this year. This week's show is presented by Comet Kart Sales. History, success, family. These are three words that describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation is located just outside Indianapolis and has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, and they are continually adding new parts to their product line. Make sure you head to cometkartsales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. Nate, we took ourselves to Dousman, Wisconsin, the Badger State, and the Millwright Raceway, home of the Badger Kart Club, for the third stop of the 2024 season for the United States Pro Kart Series. It was the midway point of the championship chase, and I think things heated up as the weekend went along. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously throwing a track in there that a lot of drivers had not been to before, for those who aren't in the Midwest and who've been running the national scene for the past couple of years. No national track series have gone to Millwright Raceway in Dousman, Wisconsin. Only some local series and regional stuff heading there. So it was a blank slate for a lot of drivers, even though they did have the warm-up weekend with the Millwright Shootout the weekend before, but still made for some really close action and some great racing.
Yeah, it's only been on the United States Pro Kart Series calendar one other time before this past weekend, and that was the inaugural season in 2013. It hosted the Midsummer, I think it was the Midsummer Classic was the name of the event that year. I believe it was in July. So basically 11 years later, United States Pro Kart Series returned to, again, the home of the Badger Kart Club and Millwright Raceway. Nate, the weather rainy on Friday, but not the type of rain that made everybody miserable, because it was light enough to where it got the racetrack wet, but not so much to where it made everything disgusting and gross, because it dried up before happy hour and qualifying. So since that, from that point on, it was a warm and sunny day on Saturday and then a cooler day on Sunday, but sunshine throughout the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, it was really, for most drivers, getting pretty much every weather condition you could get into a weekend with the rain earlier on the weekend. Had some really hot races, and then come, I believe, Sunday morning for warm-ups and for at least a couple of the first races before we hit lunch break on Sunday. It was fairly cold out before it warmed up. So definitely a big challenge already to add to a brand new track for a lot of these drivers. But again, made for some really interesting on-track proceedings.
Yeah, especially with the Rhino sealant that is down in the final part of the racetrack. And again, that was kind of really the major focal point of the racetrack itself. We didn't really talk about it. We'll talk a little bit about it more in our paddock pass, but that was certainly the focal point of a lot of people's feedback regarding the racetrack itself. By the numbers, again, we just missed out on the 200 mark, so 199 entries officially by our numbers. With double digits in all 7 categories. We had the K100 senior and junior categories, both above the 40 mark, with 45 and 43 respectively. So a little bit down for those numbers, but still big fields for those divisions. The mini and micro Swift were 31 and 32 at the next 2 biggest categories of the weekend. So again, very similar numbers in those 2 categories throughout the season, staying above the 30 mark. And then we had 19 in X30 Junior, 17 in X30 Pro, and 12 in K100 Masters to wrap up the event. That category has pretty much been stable where it's at, just between 15 and 8 as the number thus far. A little bit of a drop in the X30 Pro category, Nate. We just didn't quite get the same amount as what we had in Trackhouse at 25 and then 21 in X30 Pro. Again, when you look at the numbers overall, I think a lot of it has to do, like we talked about in the outlap, there's just a lot of racing that's happened over the 6 months of the 2024 season. People are electing to go where they want to go now. They're not kind of locked in, be it, for championships or other factors. A lot of people, again, don't like going north of Chicago. That's another factor as well, too. So overall, still solid numbers. Anytime you're at the 200 mark or just below it, it's still a great weekend.
Yeah, some, like we said, solid numbers for the weekend. And like we said, going into the weekend, might not be what USPCast is used to. And obviously with numbers being down across most series, and karting still had a very, very high level of competitor racing there this weekend. It didn't take away from any of the excitement. So that was one thing to take away from the weekend. But yeah, I mean, like we said going in, it's unfortunate to see the drop in numbers, but you have to think, like we said, how close the racing has been from weekend to weekend, and then not really having that about a month-long gap that we saw about twice last year. It's been pretty consistent since the first couple rounds of Winter Tour programs at the start of the year.
Yeah, every category pretty much had a battle for the lead throughout the main event. I think Micro Swift was the only wire-to-wire victory that we did have. And in the smallest category, K100 Masters, had 3 drivers battling for the victory at the end of the race. So again, it doesn't take a lot to make a great race. And we saw great racing and intense battles all weekend long in all 7 categories. So with that, let's head into our first commercial break. And when we return, we will have the Paddock Pass presented by DID Chain after these messages.
Ready to step up your game? Joining the Rawlison Performance Group is the obvious choice to take your racing to the next level. Industry-leading driver development is provided by our staff of multi-time national champions, Super Nationals winners, and Team USA members. And at the same time, RPG continues to be a national-level powerhouse race team. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. We work with all age groups and are focused on developing those cadet and junior drivers who are ready to take the next step in their racing program. Rawlison Performance Group has set a new standard with our in-house engine program, AVP Engines, headed by Alex Vincent. AVP has become the benchmark in IAME competition. We have the largest OTK inventory that follows our race team, providing trackside parts at all the major events in North America. RPG also offers multilingual support with French, Spanish, and Portuguese-speaking staff. If you want to fight for championships or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. The Rawlison Performance Group. We race to win. Parolin is among the winningest brands in the USA and around the world. The Parolin Le Mans full-size chassis for junior and senior classes and the Parolin Opportunity model for cadet divisions have earned success weekend after weekend at all the major championships and events in both the USA and throughout Europe. The Parolin chassis lineup also includes the Invader shifter, along with the Daytona 4-cycle chassis and the Delfino Kid Kart. Karters can head to the ParolinUSA.com website where the entire chassis line and parts are available to you, with shipping available all across North America. Parolin USA partners with several companies and race teams across the country to provide a strong dealer network to represent the brand locally and at the national level to support drivers throughout North America. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin.
And welcome to the EKN Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network and our podcast. It is July 2nd, 2024, as we are bringing you the 132nd episode of the EKN Debrief, we recap the United States Pro Kart Series Wisconsin Grand Prix in this show presented by Comet Kart Sales. We are now into our Paddock Pass section of the show, and this section is presented by DID Chain. Since 1933, DID has been designing and manufacturing high-quality chains that are chosen and utilized by the world's best power sports athletes, and is the winningest chain brand in the industry. From the hairpin turns of MotoGP to the local circle track and everywhere in between, DID has a chain offering for all levels of power sports that are designed to outlast and outperform the competition. DID also offers various levels of 4-pitch and 5-pitch chains to fit your drive chain needs. With over 90 years of experience, stay driven with DID. Nate, as we talk about, it's back to Badger. 11 years since the series has been back there. And for, as we said in the opening segment, the first time for a lot of people who have never been to the Badger Raceway or the Millwright Raceway, home of the Badger Kart Club. It certainly opened eyes and was a welcome experience for a lot of people there.
Yeah, I think a lot of drivers enjoyed the new challenge. Like we said, a lot of drivers had not been there before. Some of the drivers had extremely limited running on the track, but here, really any negative comments, I think everyone was down the new challenge of a lot of the paddock having to start fresh from this track that most people don't usually go to on the normal calendar, like the Newcastles, like the track houses, where the racing has become so close there. And like we saw in the previous round where fields were just tight throughout, it got a little spread out at times for the drivers that did figure out what is a fairly difficult circuit, but still a really fun weekend of racing.
And I think what made it a difficult circuit, one, we have softer tires. We're laying down a lot more rubber than what competitors have been used to over the last couple of years, especially with the new homologated MG tires that we do have. But secondly, basically the last two corners that have the Rhino sealant down and produce and essentially rip the rubber off the tires and lay it down in those two sections of the racetrack, where that is where we saw drivers up on two wheels for a majority of the weekend. I think the rain sessions were about the only time we didn't see people going two wheels in that area. So that is, I think that, Nate, was kind of the focus of the racetrack itself, and really the facility itself was, man, how do I get through those two corners?
Yeah, and at least the mentality for the race series that have gone there before is you set your card up for the entirety of the track and you just hope and pray through the silo and the penultimate corner, which it's two very difficult corners to get right with that Lionel Reiner and with how much grip you have going in there. So it was difficult for some drivers, and honestly, a lot of them, as anyone who sat down by the silo, by the grandstands there, would have seen a lot of two-wheeling action. It seemed to be that was the quickest way through the corner to have your left sides off the ground and just leaning on the right side of the kart, which obviously led to all the rubber buildup that we haven't seen in quite some time there. So, like you said, a lot of very unique challenges that drivers had to overcome.
Yeah, certainly was. And again, the facility large enough to welcome in a lot more entries than what we had. It could probably welcome in over 400 entries. Wouldn't you agree with the amount of paddock size that we did have? And a lot of people had the spacing they needed really all weekend long.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was still some room for us to use. And then with how compact the USPCast paddock can be compared to like regional series where you can fit a lot more karts in a area than usual, I think you could definitely get a lot more than what we had in. Probably you could get a 400 kart field if you got the entries, I think. Absolutely, like you said. So maybe in a couple years time, if we do go back to Millwright for USPCast and the entries do pop up, I'd love to see fields that big.
So now on to our next topic. It is silly season 2024 underway, as we saw some names at different places from what we are used to. Let's begin with Speed Concepts Racing and the Diego Ardiles moving over to the race team from Rollison Performance Group, and he was competing on the Carlos Sainz 55 chassis, the new one that they have there. It was kind of a welcoming home for him, but also with Jackson Wolney racing on the Kart Republic chassis under the Speed Concepts Racing tent. So a lot of changes there for at least those two drivers, and then really the next focal point was Harley Keeble departing from Sodi Racing USA and moving over to the Inter MS team with on the Kart Republic, joining Alessandro De Tullio in the X30 Pro category. And we expect to see Keeble continuing that along with some shifter kart racing in the future as well too. So that's going to be something to kind of keep an eye on throughout the season. And then Nate, coming out yesterday during my drive home, and you were already home, so you were able to get it up on social, but Danny Formal essentially taking the spot of Harley Keeble at Sodi Racing USA. So he is leaving Rollison Performance Group as well. So some very notable changes as we are at the halfway mark of the 2024 calendar.
Yeah, Formal was obviously the big one to come out in the past couple of days. A lot of speculation of where he was going to go after he announced that he was going to be parting ways with Rollison Performance Group. I think a lot of the people I talked to were thinking Inter MS as the lead contender, but for him going to Sodi does make sense with obviously Sodi and Keeble parting ways. So he's going to fill that spot. It'll be interesting to see how he does there. But for Harley Keeble moving to Inter MS seemed like he came really well into their ecosystem with him and ADT there. They seem like they're getting along, and Harley obviously on a new chassis, it's going to take a while for him to really get up to pace with it, but he seemed like he had a really strong weekend. And then like you said, for the Speed Concepts guys of Diego Ardiles, Jackson Wolney under the same tent on two different carts, chassis manufacturers, is a bit weird to see, but they managed to be at the front of the field, at least in the X30 side of things. So that didn't hamper them too much, but it's cool to see Diego and a different team, and obviously getting the win in X30 Junior, and we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, a lot of silly season going on in the middle of summer.
Yeah, and I would expect to see a little bit more probably happening as we continue on through the season. Maybe people who are outside championship chases looking to kind of change things up a little bit. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Looking at going other things in the paddock, one of them being Turner Brown completing a triple weekend stint that included Superkarts USA Pro Tour, Spring Nationals in Ohio, then traveling to Slovakia to compete at the international or the FIA Academy Trophy program as the Team USA representative, and then flying back here to Wisconsin to compete in the USPKS Wisconsin Grand Prix. So a busy, essentially, month, because he was in Ohio the weekend prior to testing. So he's been on the road for over a month, unable to go home and just basically racing and using friends and family as travel companions during this long haul. So really the highlight was the podium finish for him at the Academy Trophy event, finishing third, his first podium in the second event of the series there. So it's great to see Turner Brown representing USA very well overseas.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the bright young talents of American karting right now. And Fritz, don't envy his situation in terms of traveling right now, obviously, with the schedule density of American karting, and then adding to that, heading over to Europe every once in a while and racing over there has got to be a really busy time for Turner Brown. But like you said, really, really strong talent for us, and obviously doing us proud overseas.
Yeah, certainly doing that with the international or FIA Academy Trophy program. I'm thinking IKF. Why? I don't know why IKF is on my mind right now. Because I wrote international. There we go. The final thing in our paddock pass, Bobby Wilson joins Team FMS. Nate, you probably aren't familiar with Bobby Wilson very much, and I'm assuming a lot of those drivers in the junior and cadet categories don't recognize his name when you talk about Bobby Wilson. But this was one of the top drivers in the country from essentially for about 5 years between 1999 and 2005. He lives in Oconomowoc. I think I got that name correctly, right?
You did. Yep.
Yeah, because that's how I know it, because Bobby Wilson is from there. So I knew exactly how to say that name in your amazing say the Wisconsin cities names. That was a great video put up on the USPKS video that you produced. Great to see Lemke just nail all those really quick. I almost think the British drivers had a little bit better than American drivers, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, going around to everyone struggled. And then you went to Keeble, and for some reason, he is more of a native Wisconsin than half of the United States drivers in the paddock.
That's hilarious. Anyway, so yeah, Bobby Wilson from Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, right there by Dousman, Wisconsin. He began at Badger Kart Club, moved up, and was a national level driver for a number of years, raced with Track Magic, Burrell at the time as well, as long as First Kart, which was based out of Canada. So he did a lot of sports car, or did Indy Lights, which is now Indy Next program. Did that for 2 years. I think finished fourth both seasons that he was in the championship there. And then after that, moved off onto driver coaching and working with sports car teams. And now he's back in Wisconsin, living back in Oconomowoc, and is now working with Franklin Kart and providing, mechanic, driver coaching, and helping to expand the staff roster that is there at the nearby Franklin Motorsports operation. So great to see. That's the one thing about our paddock, Nate. We have a lot of former national champions in the paddock, either as team owners, race kart shop owners, or driver coaches or mechanics. It's just never ending supply of talent that are among those in the karting paddock.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, for Franklin to have a someone of that caliber joining the squad is huge for them, with a talent pool that only seems to continue to rise and to rise to the occasion, you could say, at these national level events like PKS, SCUSA, and Stars. It's going to be really good for that program to get them at the front of the field more often.
All right, so with that, let's head into our next commercial break. And when we return, we will get into our race report as we are continuing with the EKN Debrief, and we'll have more after these messages.
What brand is known around the world for its innovation and success? It is Sodi Kart. The Sodi brand returned in full force during the 2023 season thanks to the new exclusive importer, the Karting Distribution, led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer Sodi Kart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers product in classes from mini karts to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Sodi Racing USA has expanded its dealer network over the last year, bringing the Sodi brand to several local clubs and regional programs. The Sodi Racing USA by PK Sports is the official race team, producing many victories in different levels across the board. And the new Pro Race Academy is designed to cater to the next generation of motor racing, helping boys and girls aiming to make their mark. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about Sodi Kart chassis, or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. Sodi Kart, the world leader in the karting industry. Fast, fair, and fun. Ignite Karting offers you all of that at an affordable price. Ignite Karting utilizes the spec Margay Ignite K3 with a sealed Briggs & Stratton 206 engine and the Hoosier R80 tire. Everyone in the rookie, junior, senior, heavy, and masters classes compete on the same Ignite K3 chassis, which puts all the emphasis squarely on driver development. Additionally, Ignite Karting is accessible at the local, regional, and national level. Special events for the 2024 season include the Ignite Majors, which began with the annual trip to the Daytona International Speedway in December as part of the WKA Daytona Kart Week as part of both the sprint and road race events. Those in the Midwest can enjoy the regionally based Ignite Challenge, which features 12 races at 6 iconic facilities. Local club programs have also been established in other states all across the country, from Idaho to Texas, Nebraska to New York, with more tracks and clubs joining the Ignite Karting program every year. Be part of fast, fun, and great memories with Margay Racing at an Ignite track near you. All information on Ignite events and Ignite Kart packages, including dealers in your area, are available at ignitekarting.com. Get off the couch and onto the track this year. Ignite Karting. Fuel your passion.
And welcome back to the EKN Debrief, episode 132, as we are recapping the 2024 United States Pro Kart Series Wisconsin Grand Prix in this show, presented by Comment Kart Sales. We are now into our race report, which is presented by Skip Barber Racing School. Are you looking for the next step in racing? Go from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Racing School. Skip Barber alumni are champions in every motorsport series, including Formula One, NASCAR, IMSA, and IndyCar. Get behind the wheel of a Skip Barber Formula 4 car featuring a 160 horsepower turbocharged engine. Our highly structured and competitive Skip Barber Formula Race Series is the perfect platform to start your racing career, so you can fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. With equalized race cars and a focus on driver development, your driving skills will determine if you end up in victory lane. Learn more about the Skip Barber Racing School at skipbarber.com or call 866-932-1949. Our first category we're going to look at is the X30 Pro, presented by Rollison Performance Group, and the headline is
Garrison sweeps in his first win of 2024.
It was a completed sweep, not a wire-to-wire sweep, that is for sure, as we did see Austin Garrison set fast time in qualifying, a 44.954 lap, which I got to assume, Nate, because I don't know any records or I didn't see any on the website, it's got to be a new track record. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so with how far, I mean, just engine and car technology has come since 2013. And then with these new MG red SH2s not with SH2s with an X30, but tire technology and all that. But I'd have to assume it is a new track record.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the shootout, and I think a low 46 was the quick time for this category. I think that was just in the race, though, that I looked at, maybe not qualifying. But anyway, Garrison did go wire to wire in all 3 heat races with the pole position in hand, so it kept him out front. Norberg qualified second and was able to finish second in all 3 heat races. So we figured it was going to be a Garrison-Norberg battle in the main event as they went 1-2 in the heat races. You had Paulie Massimino finishing third, Nicholas Terlecki finishing third, and then Alessandro Di Tullio finishing third. So you throw those 3 drivers in there along with Donovan Bonilla, who actually ended up starting 5th in the race behind Di Tullio and Terlecki. A lot of different drivers that look to be in the mix going into the main event. However, that turn 1 start at Millwright Raceway, if you're starting on the outside, Nate, if you don't get the room from the inside guys, you could be out for a rude awakening, as Ryan Norberg did at the start of that main event. Yeah,
it's really hard to get a good jump from the outside lane at Millwright. Obviously, when you're tasked with turn 1 and you're on the outside with a 90-degree left, it's not going to be an easy thing. But then you have 2 kinks to the left and another very tight left-hander after that to start things off. So it's a very difficult track to be starting from the outside lane.
Yeah, so Norberg got shuffled back, I want to say nearly back to 10th at one point within the opening laps. But also in the opening laps, Garrison came under pressure quickly. Alessandro Di Tullio, who started third, and then Nicholas Terlecki, who started fourth, went on the attack quickly. And Garrison fell all the way back to fourth with Zachary Clayman de Mello getting into the mix early as well, too. And he actually started in the 11th spot. So there's a lot of shuffling early in the main event. And Nate, I think a lot of it has to do with tire pressure, because that was the name of the game, at least for X30 Pro category, where a lot of these drivers who were a bit struggling at the beginning were out on really low tire pressure.
Yeah, and I think that's really just been the name of the game for the entirety of the season at this point. You see it throughout a lot of different classes, but it seems to be that the tire pressure game is really, really key in X30, like we saw in Speed Sports in the final when it was Austin Garrison and Ryan Norberg. Norberg going on really low pressures, leaving Garrison to try and fight to the back of Norberg, not getting it at that time. And then it was kind of the opposite of this weekend. Throughout the heat races, Austin would get a very, very good jump at the start from pole. Norberg on those lower tire pressures, having to fight through the entire race to try and get to him, but wasn't able to at the end.
Yeah, eventually the tire pressure started to build back up for Garrison after dropping all the way back to fourth, eventually working his way back by Di Tullio and Terlecki by lap 11. And then essentially from there, just checked out, had the lead, and left Di Tullio and Terlecki to essentially fight it for the second spot. As the margin of victory at the line for Garrison in his first victory of the 2024 season was 3.4 seconds. But a lot of that has to do with what happened in the last lap. Now, we had Terlecki and Di Tullio fighting it out for second. As that was going on, Norberg was coming up through the field, and eventually got himself up into that fourth spot and slowly crept up to the back bumper of Terlecki, was running third, and Di Tullio running second. And then on the final lap, as they were making their way out of the last corner into the two final kinks on that front straightaway, Di Tullio's engine completely let go with Terlecki right there on his bumper, had nowhere to go. Climbed over the back of Di Tullio, spinning him around a couple times. And Norberg, nowhere to go, made contact with Terlecki and went straight into the wall, luckily hitting the pillows that were there sitting right next to the racetrack and the wall. Then hit the Tech Pros, which literally put him into the fence right there on the front straightaway. So certainly a scary situation because of the speed that the X30 Pro category guys are going in that particular section of the racetrack. So Norberg into the fence, Di Tullio out with a seized engine, Terlecki basically crossing the line in the grass as he continued on, not making any contact with the wall despite climbing over the top of Di Tullio. He would go on to cross the line in the second position. So a 1-2 finish for Gillard Karts with the Speed Concepts Racing entry for Garrison and the Holtz Driver Development entry for Terlecki, his home racetrack, Badger Kart Club home, calling home. So with all that skirmish, we had Harley Keeble coming up from the 13th position to cross the line in the third spot ahead of Donovan Bonilla, and then Zachary Clayman de Mello, who was third at one point, dropping back into the fifth position on the Alonso kart for Team Benek. So really a wild and crazy finish for that fight for second coming to the checkered flag.
Yeah, and just adding to what you said on the finish, Terlecki hitting one of the USPKS signs on the side of the track, which for most of them are held in by sandbags. So lucky escape for Terlecki crossing the line there. And then obviously really thankful for the safety that Badger Kart Club had put in place at the track with the big foam-filled pillows before the plastic barriers, the Tech Pros. Ryan seemingly being unhurt after what was a very, very hefty impact, if you've seen any of the pictures from the broadcast. But a really scary last couple of corners there, but glad all the drivers walked away from it.
Yeah, a wild scene there. And, Norberg walked away complaining of a little bit of a back pain, but was able to get up, drive the cart back to the scale line and walk away from that wreck. And DiTullio certainly frustrated with what could have been a runner-up finish, as he was among the championship contenders coming in, and now recorded a DNF, with Norberg recording his second DNF in a row for USPKS competition. So, certainly changes up the championship chase, probably puts Terlecki into a position. Paulie Massimino, who ended up finishing in the 8th position, still in the championship hunt. But those two drivers are going to have to kind of do what Garrison did this weekend and perform a sweep in one of the final 2 rounds of the season. Again, our hard charger, Harley Keeble, that 10 spots, 13th to 3rd performance. Nate, it was a lot of engine issues for him really all weekend long, but he certainly showed he has the pace on the Kart Republic really quickly.
Yeah, like we said when talking about the silly season stuff and bringing it up, he had an up and down weekend for him. But if you're Harley Keeble and Inter MS, you're coming out of this with a lot of positives going into their next event, wherever, if that's either SCUSA or USPKS. I can't quite remember where that is, or if they're going to do something else in a different program, but still, they look like a really strong duo together looking into the future.
Yeah, it certainly could be a very good combination with DiTullio and Keeble together at Inter MS. With that, let's go into our next class, which is the KA100 Senior, presented by Brandon Jarzakrak Racing. And the headline is
Breakthrough victory for Gabriel.
This category was a battle all weekend long. We had 45 drivers battling in the category. So we continued with the split heat races, but no B main for this category, and putting them all together in the main event. So, but leading up to the main event, it was Austin Jers who was making a comeback to karting. Had not been in a kart all season long, and decided to race this home racetrack for the USPKS event that was at Badger Kart Club, Millwright Raceway. And he set the fast time in qualifying at 46.865, was able to win his opening 2 heat races until Cooper Shipman, the championship leader coming into the weekend, was able to give him I think it was a last lap pass in that final heat race for Shipman to grab that win and get a little bit more championship points, as he actually suffered a DNF in the opening heat race to drop him down to, where did he start? 10th. So a DNF, a second, and a first for Shipman. So dropped him down to 10th after sitting top 5 or top 3 all weekend long, qualifying in the, where did it go? In the 5th position. So a tough break for Shipman, who had to start the main event from the 10th spot. But starting second was Mick Gabriel, who won 2 of the other heat races, along with Jesus Vasquez Jr., another championship contender. He went on to win one of the second round of the heat races. So when all the heat points were tabulated, it was Jers, Gabriel, AJ Myers, Vasquez, and Kane Martin starting in the top 5. And Nate, as we talk about it, that turn 1 situation and going into turn 3 makes for a little bit of hectic stuff when you got 45 karts going into the same position, and kind of shuffled up the order a little bit, as Gabriel and Vasquez essentially got caught out on the outside, allowing both Kane Martin and AJ Myers to slot into 2nd and 3rd behind Austin Jers. I don't think there was anything else other than that at the start. Do you recall that?
No, just, it's like you said, it's chaos in KA Senior at the first couple of corners there. It's everyone jockeying for position, everyone on the inside line just defending it with all they got, because you absolutely need to be there in the opening couple of corners and the outside line, trying not to get shoved wide in turn one, and just trying to hold on for dear life through that opening sequence.
So they essentially shuffled in with Jers, Kane Martin, and AJ Myers 1, 2, 3, and they were spaced out pretty good after the opening lap until Austin Jers came around turn 3 with no power. The chain had broken off completely off of his Red Speed machine, and Jers was completely frustrated with the opportunity gone, unable to keep everything together, and out of the race on lap 2. That gave the lead over to Kane Martin, who held that position up until lap 9, when AJ Myers made an pass attempt in turn, that would be 5. And it looked like Myers had the pass, but then as they were through the apex, the two made contact. So I don't know if Martin came down on Myers, if Myers pushed up. I think the officials called a penalty on Myers, but later they overturned that. So to me, I got to assume it was just racing contact. Nate, I'm not sure if you had a better vantage point of that contact at all.
No, I only saw it on the replay from the broadcast, and it looked like a racing incident there. So yeah.
So that shuffled things up. That allowed Jesus Vasquez Jr. to take over the lead from that point, but he only led 2 laps before he went off into the grass on the exit of turn 1. And that essentially was the downfall of his event and the end, as a few corners later, he would make contact with Donovan Bonilla as Vasquez was trying to keep position and fight back, as there was a gaggle of karts all together there after that AJ Myers and Kane Martin contact. And so Vasquez went off the racetrack, got back on, and a couple corners later was out with Donovan Bonilla also out of the race. And so that essentially gave Gabriel the lead at that point. I think he had Christian Miles on his bumper there for a little bit of time before eventually AJ Myers, who fell back, I think, all the way down to 9th place, got back up into the 2nd spot, was the lead challenger. Just not able to make a move on Gabriel, as Gabriel made that kart as wide as he could be, running a pretty good defensive line around the racetrack, and would hold on for leading the remainder of the race to secure his first USPKS victory in the K100 senior category. So the AEM karting driver on top of the podium with AJ Myers and the Magic Kart in the 2nd spot. Crossing the line in 3rd was Jose Hernandez, the Orsalon driver. He finished 3rd. Christian Miles finished 5th. Both drivers got penalty for contact, so taking them out of the top 5, moving Connor Ferris up into the 3rd spot on his Kart Republic. Championship leader Cooper Shipman up into the 4th spot after starting 10th, and then Cameron Weinberg on the Chad Dock and Racing Kart Republic entry, finishing in the 5th position. Nate, that was a pretty wild 25 laps for this category, but it's nothing that we wouldn't expect for this division.
Yeah, KA Senior has been really the class to watch in USPKS for 2024. It was a very, very hectic one. I don't think throughout any part of the race, maybe for the final 5 or so corners, you could definitively say, like, okay, we think they're going to take the win. And once Mick Gabriel was able to build a little bit of a gap out of the boot until the line from the final lap, that was when it was like, okay, that's Gabriel's to win. But there was about 5 to 10 different drivers just within that final who were contending for the win, who seemed like at any point they could bring it home. And a really, really entertaining one.
Yeah, I think if it was anybody aside from AJ Myers, it could have been a little bit different. I think Myers, drove with respect, trying not to move Gabriel, but trying to make a clean pass at the same time, and just wasn't able to do that. Had it been another driver, we could have seen a lot more hectic couple of final laps there in that category. And Nate, the hard charger of the race was?
That was Clayton Sliffer for his Millwright Racing Tony Kart, up 20 spots from 41st to 21st.
Yeah, so a good performance by the local driver to nearly get into the top 20 after starting nearly dead last. So with that, let's head into our next commercial break, and we'll return with the race report presented by Skip Barber Racing School. We'll have X30 Junior and K100 Junior.
There's a new hot button name in American safety equipment, Stilo USA. Every product with Stilo is focused on safety, comfort, and function. Stilo USA is happy to provide you with the proper safety apparel to keep you protected on the track, and their karting lineup is second to none. The ST5 KRT karting helmet is available for $599. Manufactured using a lightweight and extremely strong composite material, the KRT provides an excellent fit and comfort level due to its dual density interior foam lining, and it's equipped with a symmetrical visor that offers excellent vision and an effortless central visor locking system. The ST5 CMR standard was developed jointly by the FIA Institute and Snell Memorial Foundation to ensure safer and lighter weight helmets for the younger karters. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, lightweight construction, and the unparalleled field of vision. The perfect youth helmet is available for $549. Stilo didn't stop with their helmets either. The newly developed Carbon Curva Rib Protector is unlike any on the market, with its form-fitting solution to offer superior protection. Head to StiloHelmets.com to review these and many more products to keep you safe on the track. Stilo. Any competition, one helmet. Made in the USA. It's not just a statement, it's the mission at Factory Karts of America. Led by four-time Supernats champion Billy Musgrave, Factory Karts manufactures their frames completely in-house at the Riverside, California facility. Built and designed from the ground up specifically for the American karting market, Factory Karts brings new innovations and solutions that are long overdue. Factory Karts bring together the highest quality materials to produce a high-performance, long-lasting kart that has been designed and perfected from 3 years of development, with a focus for a big push across North America in 2023. No other karting manufacturer stands behind its product like Factory Karts does, providing a 2-year warranty on all their frames. Do you remember when American made meant innovative, original, stronger, faster, and just plain better? Well, American made is back. Contact Factory Karts today to join the American made movement. Learn more by visiting factorykarts.com or email Billy anytime at info@factorykarts.com.
And welcome back to the EKN Debrief, episode 132. As we are breaking down the United States Pro Kart Series Wisconsin Grand Prix in this show presented by Comet Kart Sales. The Skip Barber Racing School race report continues with X30 Junior, presented by Speed Concepts Racing. And the headline is
Ardila's completes sweep at new home.
So we talk about it in the Paddock Pass with Diego Ardilas making the move over to Speed Concepts Racing this weekend, making his first event with his new team after leaving Rawlison Performance Group, setting fast time in qualifying with a 45.743. So, had the confidence coming into the weekend as a former race winner, and certainly showed it by setting fast time in qualifying and then winning all 3 heat races pretty comfortably. Not really getting challenged in any of the 3 heat races for the win. So certainly maintain the pole position for the main event. Enzo Vidmontien finishing second in one of the heat races and third in another, was second. So joined him on the front row with Alexander Vanchev and Jackson Woolney in row 2. And then Turner Brown, who just did not have a really good qualifying session. I think he actually got a penalty as well too. So he ended up qualifying in the 9th position and then worked his way up to start the main event in 5th. Took advantage of that inside line, Nate. That's what we've talked about. Ardilas held the lead. I think Vanchev was up into 2nd, and then Vidmontien and Woolney kind of got shuffled back as Brown moved into 3rd. And then Brown was really the driver to beat in the main event. Eventually worked his way up into the lead ahead of Diego Ardilas, and it looked like he was going to be the driver to win this race.
Yeah, it looked like it. Turner, like you mentioned, had a really tough go of it in qualifying and then really having to fight his way through the fields. throughout the heat races on Saturday, having a good run of it in the final. And then, unless you got more information than what I did, I believe there was an engine failure or something on the RPG kart that made him retire early from the lead out of turn one, just getting up on the curbs and darting to the left. So it was a really bizarre one, but after that, Diego Ardiles inheriting the lead from what was his former teammate. So really unfortunate one there for Turner Brown.
Yeah, tough break for Turner to have the engine issue that he did have that shut off the engine completely. And as you said, he darted to the infield and ended the race watching from the sidelines. That gave the lead to Diego Ardiles. And from there, he would go on to take the victory by 1.6 seconds. Enzo Vidmontien was able to fight his way back up into the second spot on the Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic machine, with Jackson Woolney following up through and able to get into the second spot. So Speed Concepts Racing finishing first and third. Davin Roberts, the RPM driver, ended up finishing fourth after a penalty to Michael McGoy, who had fast lap of the race and ended up crossing the line in fourth, got a penalty for contact. So that dropped him out of the top five and moved Roberts up into the fourth spot, and Victor D. Alencar, the Cosmic driver for Rollison Performance Group, into the fifth position. Nate, the hard charger of the race was
David Ramirez on his RPG Cosmic, up 7 spots from 18th to 11th.
Yeah, great way to recover after a tough heat races, finishing nearly last in 2 of them. So a great recovery for David Ramirez on the RPG Cosmic. The next category we're talking about is K100 Junior, presented by BBS Race Engines. And the headline, I did not finish that, did I? Nate, I'll let you come up with the headline.
Oh, gosh, for K100. I see. I
can do it.
Like yeah, you do that. Yeah.
Martinez leaves Badger with first career victory. So that is the headline, as it was a victory decided after the main event was completed. As we began the weekend, Turner Brown set fast time in qualifying with a 47.145, but he was nowhere to be found in the heat races, at least at the front of the field. It was Vidmontien, Enzo Vidmontien, the driver coming into the weekend with 3 straight victories, including last year's finale, winning 3 heat races, the first, the second, and his third, with 3 other drivers winning the other 3 heat races, as the race group was still split up into different groups. Benham Abernathy, Alexander Vanchev, and Amador Martinez, the Rollison Performance Group driver, winning in the third heat race. So it was kind of a breakout weekend for Martinez. Nate, as I mentioned to you, where has Martinez been? Because, when he did win that third heat race handedly, I was like, where did he come from?
Yeah, I mean, throughout the start of the season, the focus for us, at least, has been on the likes of Diego Ardiles when he was still on RPG. Turner Brown, Victor De Alencar were kind of the lead drivers there. Martinez was kind of there or thereabouts at most times, but at least in his U.S. campaigns in the past couple of years, hasn't really been up front or had the luck maybe. At least in the series that we've watched, he's had some luck in his home country of Colombia, doing some Rock Cup racing there. But in terms of a real big result for a U.S. national, this was a huge weekend for him. And now you're going to have to add him to the list with the likes of Brown, Vidmontien, Ardiles, and now him up there as well.
Yeah, so the picking up the heat race win, that put him second in the main event starting grid, with Vidmontien on the pole position, Benham Abernathy in third, Alex Vanchev fourth, and Diego Ardiles starting in the fifth position. And when the race began, it was the front row drivers able to get away, with Vidmontien and Martinez out front, with the rest of the group kind of battling for that third position behind them. So essentially gave them a pretty good gap over the rest of the field early and continued to maintain that through the race as well. Great fight between the two. Martinez did not back down. That is certain. That is for certain. As he put pressure on Vidmontien, he actually got by him at one point. The two kind of made contact in turn 5 during a pass. Vidmontien dropped a wheel and lost a number of kart lengths back to Martinez, but eventually ran him back down, made the pass, and then didn't let Martinez back around and drove to what was the provisional victory and what would have been a 4 straight victory for Vidmontien. However, going through tech, it was found that the squish was not compatible. Thus, he was removed from the results, and that promoted the Colombian, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Driver? Yep. Colombian driver who has 116,000 followers on Instagram, which is amazing. Amador Martinez, the first ever victory for this driver at United States Pro Kart Series. So big win for him. Michael McGoy was then promoted up to second as he won that battle behind the two leaders with a career best finish in USPKS competition with a runner-up. Diego Ardiles up into the third spot in his KA debut with Speed Concepts Racing, ahead of former teammate Turner Brown, and then Benham Abernathy in the 5th position to lead all the local drivers in there this weekend. So certainly a great first victory for Martinez, again, who maybe he's been competitive in the rock stuff and we just haven't noticed that, but certainly in USPKS competition, this was a breakthrough victory and performance for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And would love to see him do well further into the 2024 season and beyond. Hard charger, though, for this race going to Martin Armilo. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, on his Tony Kart. That is 23 spots gained for him. It started all the way down in 43rd and managed to get a top 20 finish, finishing the final in 20th.
Yeah, so with that, let's head into our next commercial break, and we return with the Skip Barber Racing School race report. We'll talk K100 Masters, Mini Swift, and Micro Swift.
In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry, and with over 30 years of combined karting experience, we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at franklinkart.com, where all of our products are just a mouse click away. We continue to add to our growing product selection on the online store, and we ship daily to ensure products get to you quickly. We specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, the Ceramic product line, Driveline branded products, Briggs & Stratton engines, Smoker performance sprockets, OTK products, AIM, MG tires, and of course, the championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fill your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. Be sure to stop by the Franklin trailer during the United States Pro Kart Series events as the official trackside vendor. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. CRG is one of the most iconic brands in karting, and we're primed and ready for the 2022 season with new material and a never-ending focus on winning. CRG Nordam is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside of Houston, Texas, CRG Nordam supports CRG dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. The CRG KT5 is our new chassis for tag and shifter racing, and it's been designed specifically for the US market. The KT5 features 30mm construction with a 32mm front loop to increase front grip. CRG's new VEN 13 brake system is cutting-edge technology with a master cylinder that allows for pressure regulation within the system. Drivers can customize brake pressure to their own requirements to improve feel and to avoid brake lockup. The Kart is finished with new KG 507, 508 bodywork that has refined aerodynamics and reduced weight. For cadet drivers, the 2022 CRG Black Mirror is already logging positive results to start the new season. This chassis will be making big waves in 2022. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know that the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, is still available. With 4-cycle racing enjoying consistent growth in North America, CRG's FS4 chassis is the ideal choice for racers in Briggs and Stratton competition. From pure racing to karting entertainment, many tracks, both indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the CRG Centurion rental kart line. 5 different models for both gas-powered or electric engines can fit any track's needs for a new rental kart fleet. CRG Nordam has a full inventory of rental karts available for new and existing facilities. For more information on the CRG product line, head to www.kartcrg.com, and to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at info@kartcrg-nordam.com.
Welcome back to the EKN Debrief. Again, we are recapping the 2024 United States Pro Kart Series Wisconsin Grand Prix in this show presented by Comet Kart Sales. The next category we're going to talk about is K100 Masters presented by Nash Motorsports, and the headline is
Cop defends home turf.
This was a great battle all weekend long, as we knew we were going to have a number of drivers in the mix, and we certainly did that. It ended up being a 3-driver fight, however, in the end. But early on, it was 2 drivers who stood out, and both call the Millwright Raceway home, one of them being championship leader Nicky Coelho. He was able to set fast time in qualifying with a 47.919. However, former series champion and Badger aficionado Scott Kopp was able to pull off the opening heat win ahead of Mardan and Coelho. Mardan, also another driver who calls the Millwright Raceway home as well. However, Coelho was able to maintain the top spot in the final 2 heat races, and that continued. That allowed him to retain the pole position for the main event, with Scott Kopp starting second. Mario Barrios, who ended up finishing second in the final heat, he moved up into the 3rd spot for the starting grid of the main event after qualifying in the 4th position. And then Laurentiu Mardan and Martin Stone capping off the starting top 5. When the main event got underway, again, the inside line held its ground with Coelho and Barrios going 1-2, with Scott Kopp getting dropped back into the 3rd position. Those 3 drivers were able to really break away from the field, and it was a mix between all 3 drivers throughout the main event. Coelho led the first 16 laps. That was until Scott Kopp was able to take over the lead on that lap. And then from there, held on for the remaining laps to score his first victory of the 2024 season, becoming the 3rd different driver to win this category on the season, and the 3rd different driver to be probably a one and done, as this was his first start in the USPKS competition. So we had Adam Kreppen, who only ran Speed Sports, winning there. We had Max Pappas, who only ran at Trackhouse, winning there. And right now, Scott Kopp has only run the Millwright Raceway, and he's won there. So a unique scenario in this K100 Masters field. Coelho was right there in second the entire way on his Merlin, Franklin Motorsports Merlin machine. Barrios coming back from the injury sustained in his crash in March at Orlando. So this was his first week back. So a great performance by him to be able to end up on the podium in 3rd. And talking with all 3 drivers in the top 3, they were completely gassed after this 25-lap race. Martin Stone was able to win that battle for 4th, with Laurentiu Mardan on the Techno Kart finishing in the 5th position. Nate, our hard charger of the race was
Miguel Mir on his Tony Kart, 5 spots gained. That was from 12th to 7th.
Yes, and it was the first race back for Mir, who missed out on the Trackhouse weekend due to a graduation. So again, this will kind of shake things up in the championship. Obviously, Coelho is going to have a pretty solid lead coming in with a championship lead, but behind him, it's going to be a great battle for second with Stone and Mardan and a few others as well. So. Well, let's head into our mini Swift presented by Sodi Racing USA, and the headline is
Woon adds second of the season.
Yeah, Ashton Woon has really become the driver to beat, I think, in this mini Swift category now, competing in his second season. He's become essentially the veteran in this year's mini Swift crop of drivers. And however, it was Parker Ives, the driver who won at Trackhouse, that looked to be the driver to beat this weekend. He came out and did the shootout and did very well there. But came out and won and set fast time in qualifying at 49.638. Ashton Woon got him in the opening heat race to demote Ives back into the second spot. However, in the second and third heat races, Parker was able to get away from the field. Certainly starting pole position. That was the place to be in the mini Swift category, and he was able to break away from the field in both of the final two heat races. So he retained the pole position heading into the main event. And then it was Jose Carlos Morad, who started second with mini rookie Josh Bergman in third. Woon ended up starting fourth after a couple of bad performances, finishing fourth and ninth in the final two heat races. So he kind of went backwards as the day went on Saturday. And then Marco Samet climbed up from 13th in qualifying to start fifth for the main event. And the main event started with Parker Ives falling back. It looked like very similar to what we saw with Austin Garrison, except this race was right before it. And Parker Ives fell back all the way down to sixth position, Nate, and it was Josh Bergman, the rookie, leading the way early. So it looked like this was going to be a pretty exciting race, and great to see the rookie Josh Bergman leading his first USPKS main event of the season.
Yeah, obviously really cool for him and Trinity Karting Group for them to be doing that. Obviously with the first season there with what is a very, very competitive mini Swift field, one of the most competitive ones we've seen in quite some time. It was a really impressive achievement for him with the likes of Parker Ives and Ashton Woon in there, who have just been so dominant in pretty much any mini Swift category or series you put them in. So it definitely threw a wrench in the works in that early part.
Yeah. What were your thoughts as Ives fell back to sixth? Do you think that was just early race situation? Were you expecting him to do what he did and come back and get back up into the lead group?
I think you have to expect him to get back into the fight. It was a little weird to see him fall down the order, and kind of, it's weird to say at this level, but kind of the elder statesman of the group in the past couple of years, he's been doing quite well there. But it was interesting to see him fall back, but with a driver of his caliber, no surprise to see him fight his way back.
Yeah, so Bergman led early, and that was up until lap 9 when Ashton Woon and Royce Vega, who actually started back in the 7th position, who had a DNF in one of the heat races, so that hurt his starting position. He and Woon were able to demote Bergman from the top spot, and then it was those two drivers fighting it out for the top spot for a number of laps. Eves eventually got back up into the third spot and became the third different driver in the lead group, as Bergman kind of fell back a little bit more and was into that second group. So it was a 3-driver fight up into the checkered flag. But Ashton Woon eventually became the driver in the lead as he took over the spot on lap 18, and then from there was able to drive away to his second victory of the season. Setting second was Royce Vega with Parker Ives in the third spot. Josh Bergman ended up in the 4th position. And then it was Braden Wagner, who started 13th and was the quickest driver in warm-up, advancing his way up into the top 5. The hard charger of the race was
be Maxwell Macha aboard his Kart Republic. It'll be 9 spots gained for him, starting 20th, almost making his way into the top 10 and finishing 11th.
And with that, let's get into the Micro Swift category presented by, Team Ferris Racing. And the headline is
2 straight wins for Burgess.
Zane Burgess has certainly made a name for himself in the Micro Swift category and added another notch to his belt this weekend with a victory at the Millwright Raceway. Started out the weekend with fast time in qualifying a 50.069. However, was only able to win 2 of the heat races, with Santiago Orioli picking up the win in the opening heat race, as we saw some pretty good battles in the heat races for this category, but Burgess able to pick up 2 of them. And then, so he started on the pole position with Speed Sports winner Miguel Suarez starting second, Orioli starting in the 3rd spot after a win, a 3rd and a 5th, to Suarez having a 3rd, 2nd, and 2nd. So very competitive up front with this category. And then it was Jaden Francisco on the Nitro Kart starting in 4th ahead of Win Godchalk in the Bennick. The main event, I said earlier in the show, this was the only one we saw a wire-to-wire victory, as it was Zane Burgess jumping out to the lead, and a pretty solid lead early on, getting away from the rest of the field. So it was a great start for him as he went unchallenged the entire main event, going on to win the race by 4.4 seconds. Jaden Francisco on the Nitro Kart ended up getting up into the 2nd spot and held it through the main event to earn a career best 2nd in the main event for his season. Crossing the line in the 3rd spot was Santiago Orioli. However, a penalty for contact dropped him down to 9th, as Miguel Suarez was shuffled back to 6th, and he received 2 different penalties, a swerving and blocking penalty. That dropped him down to the 19th position. So all of that moved Dutch Westbrook, the Bennick driver, up to 3rd, Cameron Johnson on the Merlin into 4th, and then Leo Simoni, who actually missed his 2nd heat race, so didn't even run the 2nd heat race, starting in the 13th position, was able to end up in the main event in the 5th spot. So, Nate, that was it was an interesting race because there was a lot of racing for the 3rd position behind the top 2 drivers. But it's very odd to see a driver miss a heat race. I'm not sure if you caught that on Saturday at all. Did you?
Yeah, I was in the tower looking at a kart with no driver in it, and we were all kind of wondering what was going on there. It was unfortunate for them. Obviously, you have to be with your kart in your grid spot, and they just weren't. So it's unfortunate break for them. But it was a really interesting weekend of racing for these guys. It seemed like you had what you could say 3 of the best micro drivers in the nation between Orioli, Suarez, and Zane Burgess fighting at least on the opening laps for pretty much every single race. But Zane Burgess just had this track figured out, and we saw that in no better place than in the final, where him and his Sodi kart just ran away from the rest of the field. So it was a really, really impressive showing for Zane.
Yeah, here's a good stat. His fast lap was 0.2 quicker than anybody else in the main event. So that alone, it tells you the type of performance it was for Zane Burgess. And the hard charger of the race was Dutch Westbrook. I know I forgot to write it in the script, so I'll say it here. 14 spots, so started 17th and moved up to the 3rd spot on the podium. So he had a DNF in the final heat race, so that hurt him and put him down to 17th at the start of the main event. Let's move to our final commercial break, and when we return, we will have our wrap up, our Constructors Championship, and the EKN Trackside Live race calendar.
All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the US, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. From the legendary Tony Kart brand to the race-winning Cosmic and Esprit chassis, And now the new Red Speed and EOS brands, OTK quality is second to none. All 5 brands are winning races and championships across the country in national programs like the Ruck Cup USA Florida Winter Tour and the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour and Winter Series, and the Pro Kart Challenge, the United States Pro Kart Series, and the WKA Manufacturers Cup. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. To learn more about a specific product line, you can find the OTK USA dealer near you, whether it's Tony Kart, Cosmic, Prix, Red Speed, or EOS. Visit www.otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK USA directly. Motor mounts. They keep your engine attached to your chassis, right? The answer is, they're much more important than that. Your motor mount is critical in transferring 100% of the power from your engine through to your tires and the racetrack. You need this to get on the podium each and every time you race. Odenthal Racing Products is here for you, providing the best motor mounts on the karting market today, all designed to make sure you're using all the horsepower you pay for. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience in providing products with unmatched quality and value for our racing community. The Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines, which is available in 0, 5, and 8-degree inclinations, provides a rigid structure to help keep vibration to a minimum without adding too much weight to your setup. The 4-cycle Easy Set system is one of the most popular mounts for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Multiple mounting holes provide the most adjustability depending on your chassis and seat placement. To ensure a tight fit to your chassis, our ORP wedge clamps get the job done, and they feature a number of design updates to provide a lower profile and lighter weight. The clamps are available from 28mm to 32mm in both standard and Euro style sizes. And now, Odenthal has also revolutionized the karting industry with its new Easy GP camera mounting system. Designed to mount anywhere on your chassis with 1 or 2 cameras, the ORP Easy GP camera mount is your solution to capture that onboard winning moment. Head to odenthalracing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, proudly made in the USA.
And welcome back to the final segment of the EKN Debrief on the EKN Radio Network as we are recapping the United States Pro Kart Series Wisconsin Grand Prix in this show presented by the Comet Kart Sales. Let's now get into our wrap-up of the weekend. Nate, one solid thing that we haven't seen in the last couple of events, just in karting alone at that we've attended, no red flags on the weekend. Even though we do have the tight confines, we had that incident at the end with Ryan Norberg into the wall. No incidents needing a red flag or ambulance to move at all this weekend.
Yeah, it was obviously really good to see when you get out of a national race weekend, or any race weekend for that matter, with no red flags. It was, I mean, with how tight the racing was and with it being a new circuit, I think some of us were expecting maybe one going into the weekend, but really, really impressive from Badger Kart Club, the drivers and USPKS to come out of this with no red flags.
Yeah, great to see that. Nate, as we've already talked about at the beginning and midway through the show, the talk about the racetrack at Millwright Raceway was the grip. Lots of grip in the final 2 corners with the Rhino sealer. And there is other spots around the racetrack that did have a little bit of Rhino sealer put down to kind of patch things up on the pavement that was put down in 2022. To put to rest, some people said this was the same pavement as Road America. Well, it is, but it's the same pavement as the big track, not the actual kart track pavement that was laid down years ago. So I was questioning that when somebody said somebody said it was Road America pavement. And I'm like, no, because there you have no grip and here we have lots of grip. And so that grip was the story all weekend long, I think, when it was about the raceway and the facility itself.
Yeah, and I mean, in the past 2 weekends that I've gone here with the new pavement job, with obviously not to the level of USPCAS in terms of entries, but when I went with EKN North and Route 66, didn't have any of these issues, especially in the new section by silo, with the rubber just getting graded off the tires and getting put down onto the racetrack like that. So it was definitely weird to see, a weird situation, but again, Badger Kart Club, USPKS officials doing a really good job to manage that situation throughout the weekend.
And again, it's the only place where you'll see cart stands out on the racing surface to bring back stranded carts. I have never been anywhere else that has cart stands, rolling cart stands out there to put the carts on who can't get back to pit lane, and allow them to push it back on the stand back to the scale line. So thank you again to all the different workers that were there. Thank you to George Siraki for hosting us. Great to see Gio at the track. I know it's tough for him to travel anymore, so it was great to be back at Badger Kart Club and to see all the many workers there putting in and making the weekend as smooth as possible. Nate, this is also the halfway point. We are now more than halfway into the 2024 championship, and a lot of championship implications were made this weekend, whether it be a championship leader adding to his lead, or we saw kind of the championship getting mixed and thrown around or tightened up based on the results we saw in Wisconsin.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially for the drivers that are in the classes that don't have as many entries in them, like the X30, the senior category for the drivers like Alessandro De Tullio and Ryan Norberg, those guys are going to have a real uphill battle to try and get themselves in a championship fight now, especially with Norberg with the DNF in 2 straight races at Trackhouse. And now here it's going to be difficult for him to catch up with Austin Garrison, who seems like he's been just the class of the field in USPKS territory for this year. But for the drivers in the bigger classes, it's still a never say die attitude for them. It will be very interesting to see where things shake up at the Ohio Grand Prix and then finally at Newcastle for the finale of the season.
And so let's get into our Constructors Championship, where we saw 6 different brands win in the 7 categories. So only one brand, Nate, was able to double up, and that was Cosmic.
Yeah, Cosmic Kart getting 2 wins. Gillard 1, CS55 getting 1, Red Speed 1, and then the only non-OTK chassis to win a class were in the 2 cadet categories, with Parolin and Ashton Woon for Super Tune, and then Soda USA and Zane Burgess getting a win on the weekend.
So let's get into our EKN Trackside Live calendar. Presented by Briggs Racing. Briggs & Stratton is powering Operation Grassroots around the world. No other engine manufacturer is getting new and returning drivers to the kart track like the Briggs 206. The out-of-the-box performance of the Briggs 206 provides the most fun, excitement, and reliability of any karting engine on the global market. Learn more about the 206 engine and the history behind Briggs & Stratton's commitment to motorsports at briggsracing.com or on Instagram at racebriggs. Nate, we're off for the EKN tour, EKN Trackside Tour, for a couple weeks. As myself and Rob Howden, we will be trackside for the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour Summer Nationals, making its way back to the Newcastle Motorsports Park in Newcastle, Indiana. Nate, that is always an exciting weekend. It's probably going to be a hot weekend. We'll have a lot of tents with air conditioning, big fans, and much more throughout the weekend as the Pro Tour wraps up its 2024 season.
Yeah, Midwest summers are always brutal, and then going to Newcastle Motorsports Park Mother Nature seems to add a few degrees to the temperature whenever that happens. But still, the past few years, it's been an incredible event to watch. Looking forward to watching that one from the sidelines and seeing how the 2024 Pro Tour ends up.
And then 2 weeks after that, we will be back in Ohio at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, and we will be attending the United States Pro Kart Series Ohio Grand Prix from Batavia, Ohio on August 9th through the 11th. And it'll be the 4th round for the 2024 championship coming off the weekend at Millwright Raceway and the Badger Kart Club facility, making its second stop at the MCC Kartplex. Nate, that is, we saw it pretty intense weekend for the SCUSA Pro Tour visit there in June. I got to expect the same thing in August.
Yeah, it's always a weekend of hard racing whenever you go to MCC with the layout they have there and just how technical it is. And passing opportunities are kind of limited. So when it is, you have to go full send. It makes for some really good watching. So looking forward to being back there. Only been there for the CKNA North round last season. So be heavily looking forward to being back in Ohio.
And so with that, let's wrap up our debrief of the United States Pro Kart Series Wisconsin Grand Prix. Again, this show presented by Comet Kart Sales. Nate, any final words as we wrap up our show?
No, not really. Just really a fun weekend at Badger Kart Club. It was really cool to see the USPCast back at a track they haven't been to since their opening year in 2013. So a really fun weekend.
It certainly was. It was great to be back at the Badger Kart Club and Millwright Raceway and to be in Wisconsin. One thing we didn't say yet, I forgot to mention this in the show. They gave out cheese cows. That is one of the most coveted trophies you will receive in the state of Wisconsin. It was at every Grand National or WK event that they had in Wisconsin, be it at Road America or at the Badger Kart Club facility. It was also given away at the Badger Kart Club races at Road America on the big track as well too. So for those who don't know, if you did earn a cheese cow, it is one of those coveted trophies that you can keep in the freezer forever and never have to discard unless your freezer breaks down. So with that, we'll wrap up our show. Thank you for tuning in. For Nate Dean, I am David Cole. Until next time.